ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna. Namam Girvardharim Yasoda Nanda and Vasudeva Yasoda Nanda Namanjari Yamunatiya Manjari Manjari Nayarada Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari. Bhagavatam verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tojaya Mudiyaye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikir. Hare Krishna. So I am very grateful and honored and privileged to have to be able to share something about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I am thankful to His Grace Narari Chaitanya Prabhu and His Grace Swayam Prakash Prabhu and all the devotees connected to the temple for giving me opportunity to share something in the service of Srila Prabhupada and all the devotees. Thank you, all of you. Hare Krishna. So actually yesterday on Sunday, I had given a class in the evening at Sheshadripuram temple, and it was basically about understanding the Tattva, the science of Krishna consciousness, Tattva Darshan. So I think what we can do is today we can continue and we can actually go more deep into the Tattva, the science of Krishna consciousness, into the Vraj Lila, understanding Krishna's Lila in Vrindavan. So I have chosen a particular verse because I felt that Janmashtami just went by. So it's quite appropriate to actually connect Krishna's pastimes with today's class. So Swayam Prakash Prabhu asked me that I can select any verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam and I can speak on that. So I just got to know that I will be giving class yesterday evening. So I had very less time, but I will try to share as much as possible. We have limited time also. The glories of Vrindavan is actually unlimited, but we have limited time. So we'll try to summarize 10th canto, 46th chapter. Okay. Normally you read the verse with the shloka and translation. Okay. Yeah, it's a long shloka. It is actually a combination of, I think, 4 verses, 9 to 13, 46th chapter. I mean, we can read it online also. If okay, so this is 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 46th chapter, Uddhava's visit to Vrindavan. Verses 9 to 13. Now there is a particular reason why I'm selecting this verse, because actually one of the entire spiritual science of Krishna consciousness is vast, and this particular verse actually reveals one of the aspects of Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan. Okay, so we'll start. Vasitarte biyudyabhir naditam susmabhir visha dhavanti vischa vasrabhir Uddho bharesva vatsakan itastato vilanga bir go vatsar manditam site go doha shabda bhiravam Venunam niyasva nacha Gayanti bischa karmani Shubhani balakrishnaya Swa alankrityavir gopibir Gopeschasu virajitam Agni arkatiti govipra Pitra devarchanan vitay Dhupadipascha malyascha Gopa vaser manoramam Sarvata pushpita vanam Dvijali kulanaditam Amsakaran dava kirne Padma sandesh chamanditam. Vasita of the fertile cows. Arthe for the sake. Abhiyudhya be who are fighting with one another. Naditam resounding. Shushmi be sexually aroused. Vrishe with the bulls. Dhavanti be running. Cha and. Vasabi with the cows. Uddha by their udders. Bhara burden. Swa after their own vatsakan. Calves. Itta tata here and there. Vilanga be jumping. Go vatse by the calves. Manditam adorn. Site white. Go doha of the milking of the cows. Shabda by the sounds. Abhiravam reverberating. Venunam of flutes. Niyasva nena with the loud vibration. Cha and. Gayanti be who are singing. Cha and. Karmani about the deeds. Subhani auspicious. Bal Krishnayo of Balram and Krishna. Su finally. Alankrita be ornamented. Gopi be with the coward woman. Gope the coward men. Cha and Su Virajitam resplendent. Agni of the sacrificial fire. Arka the sun. Atiti guests. Go the cows. Vipra the brahmanas. Pitra forefathers. Deva and demigods. Archana with worship. Anvite filled. Dhoop with incense. Deepa lamps. Cha and Malya with flower garlands. Cha also. Gop Avesa because of the homes of the cowards. Mana Ramam, very attractive. Sarvata on all sides. Pushpita flowering. Vanam with the forest. Dvija of birds. Ali and bees. Kula with the swarms. Naditam resounding. Hamsa with swans. Karandava and a certain species of duck. Akirna crowded. Padma Sande with bowers of lotuses. Cha and Manditam beautified. Okay, translation by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Gokul resounded on all sides with the sounds of bulls in red fighting with one another for fertile cows, with the mooing of cows burdened by their elders, chasing after their calves, with the noise of milking and of the white calves jumping here and there, with the loud reverberation of the flute playing, and with the singing of the all auspicious deeds of Krishna and Balram by the coward men and women, who made the village resplendent with their wonderfully ornamented attire. The covered homes in Gokul appeared most charming with their abundant paraphernalia for worship of the sacrificial fire, the sun, unexpected guests, the cows, the Brahmana, the forefathers, and the demigods. On all sides lay the flowering forest, echoing with the flocks of birds and swarms of bees, and beautified by its lakes crowded with swans, Karandava, ducks, and boughs of lotuses. Purport. Although Gokul was merged in grief because of separation from Lord Krishna, the Lord expanded his internal potency to cover that particular manifestation of Vraj and allowed Uddhav to see the normal bustle and joy of Vraj at sunset. Om Ajnanatiminandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udat Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shemate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's go to Vrindavan today because Uddhav is also visiting Vrindavan. In the previous verse, it is mentioned that Uddhav just reaches Vraj. So he's reaching at the time of sunset. And what he's seeing here, you can imagine the scenario that he's experiencing the blissful aspect of Vraj, right? Now, the question is that how is Vraj blissful? We have heard so many times that Krishna, when he's, the Vrajvasis, when they are separated from Krishna, they are always mad in separation from Krishna. They are very, they feel intense pain of separation from Krishna. So how is it possible that Krishna, the Vrajvasis, they are feeling such kind of bliss? And not just that, but here it is also mentioned, the loud reverberation of the flute playing is also heard in Vraj. So how is that possible? Because Krishna is not there. He's already left for Mathura and Dwarka, right? He's in Dwarka basically. So like the reason, when now this particular verse is very important to us philosophically, because what Uddhav is seeing, and in the purport also it is mentioned, that Uddhav is seeing another manifestation of Vraj, another manifestation of the Vrajvasis. So actually, Srila Vishwanath Thakur explains in his commentary to this particular verse that there are two manifestations of Vrajvasis when Uddhav is visiting Vraj. So what he's seeing is basically those Vrajvasis who are actually seeing Krishna face to face. They are experiencing Krishna. That's why they are feeling blissful. Okay, and then another aspect is that there are other set of Vrajvasis who are completely in separation from Krishna. So this is a transcendental Achintya Tattva, which is explained by our Acharyas. In fact, another way to explain is that Jiva Goswami explains in one of the Sandarbhas that there is no difference between seeing Krishna face to face and seeing Krishna in separation. So when they are separated from Krishna, they are also seeing Krishna because of their ecstasy, because of their Mahabhav. So the gopis of Vrindavan, Radharani, the gopis, the Vrajvasis, they are seeing Krishna face to face because they can actually feel the separation is actually the highest ecstasy of love. And in that ecstasy, the remembrance of the Lord is so much that Krishna personally appears in their hearts and he will manifest himself to them. So Jiva Goswami says that there is no difference between this manifestation of the Lord as well as physically present in Vrindavan. There is no difference between that. So we can say that there are two explanations. One, the way Vishwanath Thakur is explaining that there are two separate Vrajvasis, two sets of Vrajvasis, and Uddhav is experiencing the Vrajvasis who are actually very blissful. Right? Now, in the later verses, immediately you will come to know that again Yogamaya expands, and then Uddhav is actually directed towards those set of Vrajvasis who are feeling separation from Krishna. So when after seeing this scene, he immediately goes and meets Nand Maharaj and Yasoda Maya. Okay, and they are feeling a lot of separation from Krishna. So they are very painful in their heart, and they are expressing their pain. So they are feeling that pain in separation from Krishna, and they are expressing to Uddhav. And then Uddhav is trying to convince them that Krishna is actually the super soul. He is trying to provide Brahma Gyan to them, but they are not able to digest that because they are in a transcendental platform. So then again, what happens is, after few verses, when Uddhav goes and tries to meet the gopis, so there is again a description of the gopis who are blissfully chanting Krishna's name. So again, Yogamaya is removing that covering, and Yogamaya is showing Uddhav the portion of Vraj which is in union with Krishna. So Krishna is present and he is not present also at the same time. Now Jiva Goswami explains that whenever the Vrajvasis, they feel that they have been in touch with Krishna, they feel that it's a dream for us. So in the separation, although they are meeting Krishna, but after meeting Krishna, they somehow forget that they have met Krishna. It is like a dream for them. So they feel that they have never met Krishna only. So it is possible that Uddhav, when he's going to meet the Vrajvasis, according to Jiva Goswami, probably they have seen Krishna and they are feeling the bliss. But then after some time, when Uddhav is again going to meet the gopis, they forget about Krishna and they again are in separation from Krishna. So according to Jiva Goswami, this is one explanation. According to Vishwanath Thakur, there are two separate sets of Vrajvasis. So all this is possible in Vrindavan because Vrindavan Dham is Achintya, right? It is inconceivable. So I would like to share some few aspects of the Tattva of the Dham. First aspect is the Prakat and Aprakat manifestation of the Dham. So one thing we have to understand that Krishna never leaves one step out of Vrindavan. Vrindavan parityajam padam ekam na gacchati. Krishna can never leave one step out of Vrindavan. So who goes to Mathura and Dwarka? It is actually the Vasudeva expansion of Krishna who goes to Mathura and Dwarka. Krishna is always riding in Vrindavan. Okay. So now what happens when Krishna goes out of Vrindavan? At the border of Vrindavan and Mathura, it is the Akrur Ghat is actually the border, and Akrura is taking Krishna. So what happens is Krishna becomes the Yashodanandan Krishna, Sham Sundar Krishna. he will disappear from worldly vision. Okay, and the expansion of Yasoda and Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, will go along with Akrura to Mathura and then later on to Dwarka. So that form becomes visible. So see, again, we have to understand one thing: prakat and aprakat is relative. Now, for the Vrajvasis, because they have intense love for Krishna, they are always seeing Krishna. So Krishna is always prakat for them. But so this particular context of prakat and aprakat applies only to those sadhakas who are not able to see Krishna with their material eyes. Okay, so in a worldly vision, Krishna is not manifested. So that's how it is discriminated, aprakat and prakat. So after Krishna's pastimes in Mathura and Dwarka, Krishna is always in the prakat form in Mathura and Dwarka. And in aprakat form, he's still in Vrindavan. So what does it mean? Krishna is eternally present in Vrindavan, but he is not to be seen by worldly people or even by sadhakas. He can only be seen by those who have prema. Okay, so that's how the Vrajvasis, who are eternal associates of the Lord, who are coming down from the spiritual world, they can see Krishna all the time. They can actually have conversation, they can have reciprocation with the Lord all the time. So this is what we need to understand, that prakat and aprakat. Now similarly, the dham also is, it can manifest and it can unmanifest. So the dham, so I wanted to share something about the dham also. That is the tattva about the dham. Now, first of all, dham is actually it is the expansion of Balram's Sandhini potency, because whatever exists, spiritual world, material world, everything is existing on the Sandhini potency of Lord Balram. Okay, we have the Chit Shakti of the Lord, which is Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini Shakti. So from the Sandhini Shakti, the existence is there. From the Samvit potency, the knowledge is there. And the presiding deity of that knowledge is Yog Maya. And then we have Ladini Shakti, which is the bliss aspect of the Supreme Lord, and represented by Srimati Radharani. So by the mercy of Yog Maya, you get knowledge to understand Dham Tattva, Krishna Tattva, Krishna Lila. And through that, you feel blissful. But when you practice, when you, after establishing Sambandh, when you do Abhidheya, then you actually feel that bliss in your heart. Okay, so that bliss actually comes from the Ladini Shakti of the Lord. So this dham is the manifestation of the Sandhini potency, and dhams are of different categories. Okay, so one dham is the Goloka dham. So the dham, essentially, it is categorized into five types of dham. One is Goloka, we know that in the spiritual world. And then one is Bhoma dham in the material world, in the material universe. And then we also see Drishtaman dham. Now, what is Drishtaman dham? Drishtaman dham is that portion of dham which is actually visible to the material eyes, to us, to the sadhakas. So when we go to Vrindavan, when we go to Mayapur, when we go to Jagannath Puri, we'll see that there are certain remnants of the Lord's palaces or paraphernalia which we can see with our material eyes, or the lotus feet of the Lord, the footprints of the lotus feet of the Lord. They are all there, so they are preserved till now. Okay, so this is the Drishyaman dham that we can see with the perceive with the material eyes. And then there is because see, Bhoma Vrindavan also, again, it is said that you cannot see the dham with the eyes. You can see the dham with the ears, right? So when you hear about the dham will manifest itself. When you serve the dham will manifest more and more, right? You cannot see the dham as it is, because when Krishna was here in Bhoma Vrindavan, the dham was completely pure. It was not different from Golok Vrindavan, spiritual world. But here you will see that, oh, there are so many potholes, so many pigs, so many monkeys here, and there is dirt everywhere. There is industrialization, commercialization everywhere. So what you are seeing is actually covered dham. It is not the real dham. So when it is uncovered by when we serve the Lord and the devotees, when we approach the dham in a humble state of mind with a service attitude, then the dham is revealed to us more and more. So as we progress from the stage of Shraddha to Prema, at the stage of Bhav, we can see the Lord face to face. At the same time, we can also see the dham of the Lord, the real dham of the Lord at the stage of Bhav. But before that, we have to practice seeing the dham through the ears by taking association of sadhus, by hearing from them, and then serving in the dham. Then dham is going to reveal itself. So this is Drishyaman dham, what we can also perceive with the Lord is very merciful. If we cannot see anything, then what is the use of dham, right? So at even our stage also, we have to see something. Like for example, Govardhan is there, Yamuna is there. So they are eternally there. Actually, they are non-different from the original Govardhan and Vrindavan, Yamuna that we see in Vraj. So we have to see something because that's how the dham potency is always there. And it can inspire us to further enhance our Krishna consciousness. Okay. So this is the aspect of dham, Drishaman dham. Then what are the two other types of dham? One is the dham which is actually manifested by the devotees. So like Srila Prabhupada, he desires that let there be a temple here. Let there be Vaikuntha here. So then the temple is actually non-different from dham. It is non-different from Vaikuntha. So wherever there is holy name, wherever there are devotees, then it becomes non-different from the dham. And then there is the fifth dham, which is actually manifested in the heart of a pure Vaishnava. Okay. So these are the 5 types of dham. Now, what are the differences between these 5 types of dham? So the Golok Vrindavan spiritual, which is in the spiritual world, and Bhoma Vrindavan, we know that there is no difference, absolutely no difference, except a few circumstances. Like for example, in Bhoma Vrindavan, we see that Krishna is actually taking birth and then he's growing and then he attains youth age, right? But in the spiritual world is eternally youthful. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna in the spiritual world in Golok Vrindavan is eternally youthful, but sometimes he may manifest different ages also, depending on the devotee's desire. So sometimes Yasoda Maya may desire that, oh Krishna, can you appear in a baby form? So then Krishna will temporarily manifest that baby form also. So all the ages are present in Goloka also, but permanently on a comparatively basis, eternal youthful form of the Krishna is the main age there in the spiritual world. But in Bhoma Vrindavan, we see that Krishna is actually, he's transforming in different ages, right? So Kumar, Padanga, and then Navayonaman. So these are the ages of Krishna in the material world. And then we also see in the material world, Krishna is killing demons, right? That's a difference. Srila Prabhupada said that there are no demons in the spiritual world. But now something very interesting. Srila Sanatana Goswami says in the Bhagavatamrta that actually demons are also there in Goloka. Very interesting, right? So now what is the difference between the demons in the material realm and in the spiritual realm? So he explains that the demons in the spiritual world, they are manifested for time being by the Yogmaya's potency. So it is actually display of Yogmaya's potency. It is not a sadhaka who is actually a demon in the spiritual world. So like for example, Kesi. So when he enters spiritual world, Krishna chastises Kesi and then he makes him he tames him so that he can actually ride on Kesi and he can go from one place to another place. And similarly, Kaliya also, it is explained that when Kaliya enters the spiritual world, so Krishna will temporarily, he will orchestrate the same pastime that is there in the material world, but then he will also perform Raslila on Kaliya, on his hood. So Kaliya will become a devotee of the Lord and then Krishna will perform his Raslila. And then, sometimes Krishna will also use Kaliya to ride from Vrindavan to Mathura through the Yamuna. So these are all nice, wonderful details given by Sanatana Goswami. But we have to understand one thing, that these are temporary manifestations of Yogmaya's potency in the spiritual world, in Goloka. In the material world, these are all sadhakas, jiva, who are actually, who wants to, they want to destroy Krishna. They want to kill Krishna. So the demons in the material world and in the spiritual world are this is a difference. And in the spiritual world, the demons, they are only manifested for some time. So like, for example, there is also a pastime where Krishna actually leaves Vrindavan and goes to Mathura to kill Kamsa in spiritual world. But then he returns back to Vrindavan. So he returns the next day itself or the same day after killing Kamsa. So now you may be wondering that how Kamsa is also there in the spiritual world. But in order to experience the ecstasy of separation, Krishna is manifesting these pastimes. The demons, they are all manifestations of the Yogmaya potency of the Lord. So what happens is, Krishna goes to Mathura, kills Kamsa, and then he comes back. So the Vrajvasis, they feel some kind of separation from Krishna for some time. But then because Krishna comes back, very soon, that's why ideally they do not, comparatively, they do not feel any separation from the Lord. That's why it is said that in Goloka, Krishna is always present in the dhams. And they forget that Krishna went to kill Kamsa and he returned back. They will forget that very easily. And again, they will the next day. So Krishna repeatedly perform this activity in the spiritual world also. So this is Goloka and Bhoma Vrindavan. In Bhoma Vrindavan, you'll see that there is a lot of time gap. Krishna is like almost spending, in I think in Mathura is like 10 years, and then Dwarka is like so many years, like a lot of time. So almost 10 to 11 years is in Vrindavan. Then another 11 years he is in Mathura, and then later on he is always in Dwarka. So Krishna, the Vrajvasis in Vrindavan, they feel separation of Krishna for a longer period of time. Okay. And he is manifested in aprakat form in Bhoma Vrindavan. But in the spiritual world, Krishna is always present in his prakat form. So that's the difference. And now what is the difference between Goloka, Bhoma and the other Vraj, which is manifested by the pure devotee and manifested in the heart of a devotee? The difference is that as long as the devotion is pure, till that degree, Vrindavan will be manifested. As long as you perform pure devotional service in the temple, to that extent, the deities are not different from the Lord. But in Bhoma Vrindavan, the dust of the feet of the Vrajvasis, and because of the dust of the feet of Vrajvasis and Krishna, the power is eternally there. The potency of that Dham is eternally present. So irrespective of whether you perform devotional service in Vrindavan, in Bhoma Vrindavan, you'll always have that potency with you. You'll experience that potency. But in the temples that we have, local temples, as long as pure devotional service is performed to the highest degree, to that degree, Lord, the entire paraphernalia and Dham is going to be manifested. And as soon as you mix devotion, with impure things, then, it will be covered up. So that is the difference between Bhoma Vrindavan and Dham, which is actually manifested by a devotee as well as inside the heart. So this is something about the Dham Tattva and about Prakat and Aprakat Leela. Now, there is also a question that whether Krishna returned to Vrindavan, right? So now, see, from this particular example, you can see that Krishna was actually present because the Vrajvasis are very happy. They are very blissful in Krishna's presence. And obviously the flute is also there. So actually, according to our acharyas, Krishna did return to Vrindavan. But Sukadeva Goswami did not mention this directly in the Bhagavatam. And there is a reason for it. Why? Because, so first let me tell you, Krishna actually went to Vrindavan a couple of times, not just one time. And there are 3 references in our scriptures. One is in Garg Samhita, which says that after going to Mathura and killing Kamsa, immediately Krishna returned after 3 months. And then he actually was in Vrindavan for like 3 months. And then again he went back. Then there is another reference in Padma Purana, where it is mentioned that after killing Dantavakra, Krishna entered Vrindavan, because that's the reason Krishna actually called Dantavakra to fight at the border of Mathura. Very close. So from Dwarka actually came all the way to Mathura, to the border of Vrindavan and Mathura, like that. And from Mathura he entered towards Vrindavan after killing Dantavakra. So Krishna actually visited Vrindavan a couple of times. And Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, 11th chapter and 9th verse, it mentions how the Dwarkavasis, they are actually very happy by seeing Krishna returning back. And then they, in the glorification, they also say that whenever you, oh Lord, whenever you go to Madhu means, not just Mathura, but it actually refers to Vrindavan. Because, and there is a particular word in that, Yari. Yari means repeatedly when you go to Hastinapur or Madhu. Madhu, here our Acharya, they translate it as Vrindavan. Obviously, it cannot be Mathura because the Dwarka Vasis, the Mathura Vasis, they are actually shifted to Dwarka. So it cannot refer to Mathura. It has to, Madhun actually in one sense, it includes the entire Vraj Mandal. Madhuvan, sometimes it is also called as Vrindavan. And Vrindavan is also sometimes called as the entire Vraj. Although Vrindavan is actually a sub-forest. It is one of the 12 forests of Vraj. But sometimes Vrindavan as a whole entity is also called as, referred to as Vraj. So similarly, Madhuvan also, or Madhu, it is Madhupuri. It is actually, technically it is Mathura, but it can also refer to the entire Vraj. So Krishna repeatedly goes to Vrindavan. There is a reference of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, this is not stated directly by Sukadeva Goswami because of very important reason. If you see, what happened is, after killing Dantavakra, Krishna entered Vrindavan and then he stayed there for 2 months. So he enjoyed pastimes with the Vrajvasis. And then in his aprakat form, he took all the Vrajvasis back to Goloka. So have you heard anything about, what happened to the Vrajvasis? You may not have heard about it because there is not much mention. So our acharyas, they quote from the Padma Puran and they explain that how Krishna actually went to Vrindavan and in his aprakat form. See now, as I told you, because once the Vrajvasis are going to Goloka, obviously then no one is going to be there in Vrindavan. So Krishna and the Vrajvasis, they become aprakat. And then Krishna in his Vasudeva expansion again goes back to Dwarka. Okay, so he took all the Vrajvasis to Goloka. And then, so what was the destination of the Vrajvasis? They all went back to the spiritual world. But what happened with the Yadavas? The entire dynasty was destroyed. Yeah. So if you remember, they had all gone to Prabhas, and because of the curse that Samba had received from the sages, Narad Muni and many other sages were there, because they tried to make fun of the sages. So Samba, he disguised himself in the form of pregnant woman, and then he went before the sages and he asked them casually, just to make some fun, that okay, now tell me who is going to take birth. Is that going to be a daughter or a son? And the sages got very upset. They got very offended by this question. And they cursed Samba that the same, you think, you are carrying some child that, that child will actually transform into the form of a club, and that will be responsible for the destruction of their entire dynasty. So immediately it was transformed into iron lump. Actually, there was no child. He was not pregnant. He was just making fun. So then they cursed Samba. Samba went to Ugrasen, and Ugrasen immediately instructed them, just throw everything, whatever you have. So what they did, they chopped off all the, the entire lump of iron into small pieces. And what happened is there was a remnant of that lump. A big lump was there that they actually, they threw everything into the ocean. And after reaching the banks of the ocean, all the pieces, they reached the shore of the ocean, and then they were manifested in the form of stalk of canes later on. So when the Yadavas, they came to the shore of the ocean at Prabhas, which is Somnath, Somnath, that entire area is called Prabhas. So the Yadavas, they come there, and what they see is that actually when they are fighting with each other, so suddenly, they are using all their weapons, everything they use, and they try to kill each other with the weapons, but the weapons are exhausted. So then they see that there are stalk of canes. So immediately they start removing the stalk of canes, and then that stalk of cane immediately transform into iron lump or iron clubs, and they start hitting with that iron club. But there is a small portion of lump which is actually remaining, that is taken by Jara. So what happens is, Jara, the hunter, he captures a fish in the ocean, and the fish actually swallows that iron lump. So when Jara, he cuts the fish, he founds that iron lump, and with that iron lump, he actually makes the shaft of the arrow, and then he shoots at Krishna, if you remember, right? So so this is how it became the cause of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, because of the curse of the sages. Now there are many external and internal reasons why this happened. It's another class altogether in detail. But yeah, so yeah, coming to the main point, the reason why Sukadeva Goswami does not mention this point is, so now see, Sukadeva Goswami had some natural affinity for the Yadavas because he was connected to Pandavas, and Pandavas very close. They were very closely connected to Krishna and the Yadavas. So Sukadeva Goswami also had some natural affinity and love for the Yadavas. So Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj. Okay, Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, understanding his mind, Sukadeva Goswami did not disclose to him that the Vrajvasis went back to Goloka, Krishna had returned to Vrindavan. Why? Because he felt that Parikshit Maharaj would have felt very bad, very sad about the entire episode of the destruction of Yadavas. Because Yadavas, they were so brutally killed. The end of the Yadavas was so bad, and the end of the Vrajvasis was so good, because they all went back to the spiritual world. And it seems that, this entire fratricidal war, it was like disaster. So actually, understanding the mind of Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami did not reveal this fact to him. So this is actually revealed by our acharyas. And then there are a lot of details. I have actually conducted the entire seminar on the destruction of the Yadava dynasty, a 2-part seminar. So maybe if you want, you can hear it on YouTube also. But in brief, actually the Yadavas, they also went back to Dwarka in the spiritual world. It was just Krishna's lila. It was a show. It actually never happened only. It was an illusion arranged by the Lord. Now, why it was arranged? To summarize, it was arranged because after Dwapar Yuga, we know that there is the beginning of Kali Yuga. So in order to enhance adharma to rise in Kali Yuga, Krishna manifested the entire pastime. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur explains that in the case of Lord Ramchandra's abode, when Lord Ramchandra had come to Ayodhya, so at the end of his pastimes, he took away all the associates and devotees and sadhakas to Ayodhya in the spiritual world. He showed them his Vishnu form, right? If you remember, even if you have seen Ramanand Sagar serial, at the end, Lord Ramchandra is manifested in the 400 form, and then he takes all the Ayodhya Vasis back to the spiritual world. So it is very positive. Those who were Nastik, they become Astik. Those who had less faith in Lord Ram, they became devotees, pure devotees of Lord Ram. So just by seeing these pastimes of the Lord, everyone became dharmic. Because after Trita Yuga, there is the beginning of Dwapar Yuga. So it was very positive. There was a positive atmosphere created in order to enhance dharma. But now, because Kali Yuga is going to begin, thinking like that, Krishna actually made arrangement in such a way that people will be bewildered by his pastime, and adharma will naturally increase. So those who are only except the pure devotees, everyone will be bewildered by this pastime, and that way Kali Yuga will have a lot of adharmic people. Now, obviously, it is not something that the Lord is doing. Okay, it is not his desire. It is the desire of the jivas who are very adharmic in nature. They have to appear in Kali Yuga. So, in order to fulfill their desire, Krishna has to manifest the entire lila. Right? So actually this pastime did not happen only. It is said that Vishwanath Thakur said that it was an illusion and it was kind of a dream. But what happened is all the Yadavas, they were taken back to the spiritual world. And it is also explained that there were some demigods who had merged in the body of the Yadavas. So Krishna actually separated those portions of the demigods from the eternal associates of the Lord, and they were sent back to Goloka. And the demigods, they went back to their respective abode in Swarga or different places. Okay. So there are a lot of wonderful commentary and explanation given by our acharyas regarding this particular pastime. So this is how actually the Dham and Krishna's Leelas are manifested. And this is how Krishna also returns to Vrindavan. But we don't see that. We cannot understand that unless and until we actually see through the eyes of the acharyas. See, that's why it is so important to understand everything from the eyes of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Even though in the Bhagavatam also you may see certain verses, but the verses you will not be able to identify. There are certain keywords which only the acharyas will explain. Right? So this is very significant. Yeah, now similarly, we see that during Krishna's appearance also, Krishna was simultaneously he appeared simultaneously at the house of Nand Maharaj also. We know that, right? So he's simultaneously the son of Yasoda as well as Devaki. Now, why did Sukadeva Goswami not mention about the appearance of Krishna in Yasoda Maiya's house? There is a reason for that also. Again, Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he's giving the insight. He's saying that because if Kamsa would have known that even Nand Maharaj has given birth to Krishna, then he could have persecuted both of them again, not just Vasudeva and Devaki, but also Nand Maharaj and Yasoda Maiya. So in order to at least secure them somehow, Sukadeva Goswami did not mention about this particular thing. But see, now indirectly the acharyas can easily identify that Krishna has to take birth in Yasoda's house because he's eternally the son of Yasoda. And then there is a hidden verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which actually indirectly explains that Krishna had to take birth at Yasoda's house, which I will also share. And then he also quotes reference from the Harivamsa Puran and Adi Puran, how actually Krishna has to appear simultaneously. So see, in the Bhagavatam, you will see that when Krishna appeared in the form of Vasudeva, to Vasudeva, Vasudeva was going to take Krishna to Gokul, right? So just at the time he was about to leave the prison house, it is mentioned, the Bhagavatam says that Yasoda gave birth to a daughter. But Harivamsha says that as soon as Vasudeva was born, Krishna was born, simultaneously another son was born to Yasoda. So you see that there is some time difference, right? When Vasudeva Krishna is born, and simultaneously one son has to be born at the house of Yasoda, according to Harivamsha Puran. Because Yogamaya is appearing, Krishna's sister, she is appearing after some time. That's why she is younger sister. So that's how Acharya says that Krishna, actually this is Krishna who took birth in Yashoda's house. And then what happened is, Vasudeva took Krishna in Gokul, and then he saw that, he's already like, because of Yogamaya potency, he could not see that. But Vasudeva Krishna merged in Shamsundar Krishna. That's how our Acharyas explain. And Jiva Goswami, he explains in another way. He says that in his Gopal Champu, he says that actually Krishna was carried to Mathura by Yogamaya in a hidden way. So it is not that Vasudeva Krishna carried Krishna there. I mean, obviously after that he carried Krishna back to Vrindavan. But what happened is, from Gokul, Yogamaya carried Krishna to Mathura, and that Vasudeva Krishna merged in the form when Vishnu, because earlier they saw the Vishnu form of the Lord, and then they started glorifying and praying to the Supreme Lord, and they told them that please transform into a child form, because as soon as Kamsa will know about it, he will try to persecute us, and he will also try to disturb you. So then immediately the Vasudeva form, it transformed into a form of a child, baby form. So that baby form, actually it was Shamsundar Krishna, which was transported by Yogamaya in the prison house. So these are all the details, the Tattva of Krishna's Lila, very, wonderful Lilas of the Lord. That's the reason Sukadeva Goswami did not mention this point. But see, everywhere Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning indirectly, because he wants to establish the fact also at the same time. So he gives some indication, right, in his verses that, yeah, Krishna is actually eternally the son of Yasoda. Yeah, so basically, by the influence of Saraswati, now see, you'll see that there are 3 times where Krishna is making the promise, because Krishna, does Krishna return to Vrindavan? That's a question, which is not explicitly given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So does Krishna return to Vrindavan? Indirectly it is mentioned. How? 3 times when he makes promise to, first promise he is making to the gopis when he is leaving to Mathura. So when, we know that Akrura is taking away Krishna and Balaram on the chariot, and then the gopis are all getting mad. So that time Krishna tells the gopis that, okay, I promise you I will come back. Again, when Krishna is, he kills Kamsa, and then he has interaction with Nand Maharaj. So that time also he assures Nand Maharaj that very soon I will return. And third time also, Krishna, he promises his return through the letter which Uddhav delivers to the gopis. So 3 times actually in the Bhagavatam there is a reference of Krishna promises to return to Vraj. Now, how is it possible that Krishna can break his promise? He can break his promise for his devotees, but this promise is made for his devotees, right? So it is Acharya Jiva Goswami says that it's not possible Krishna can break the promise. And then he quotes this verse from Rupa Goswami in his Laghu Bhagavatamrta, quotes this verse from the Bhagavatam, the first canto, 11th chapter and 9th verse, where the Dwarkavasis are glorifying Krishna, and they are saying that whenever you are going away from us to Madhu and Hastinapur, that time we are actually feeling your separation. So that's a indirect reference for it. And then also quotes the Padma Puran and the Garg Samhita, which says that Krishna actually immediately returned after killing Kamsa. So this is how Krishna's pastimes, they are achintya in one sense, because as I said that it may be possible that there are 2 sets of Rajvasis, and it is possible that it's just one set of Rajvasi, but then they are forgetting their interaction with Krishna. They think that it's a dream, and then that's how simultaneously the feelings of separation and the feelings of sambhog, they manifest every now and then. So this is just a brief of information about. So see, that's why when Uddhav went, he was actually Uddhav was influenced by goddess Saraswati directly. That's how Uddhav also promised that Krishna will return. Not just Krishna, but Uddhav also promised to the Vrajvasis that he is going to return. So actually, that time Saraswati Devi, she manifested herself, and whatever Uddhav spoke became true. This is given by our acharyas. Yeah, so Uddhav goes, and then after meeting Nand Maharaj and Yasoda Maya, he goes and sees the gopis. But before that, they are in a very joyous mood. They are very blissful. They are chanting the holy names of the Lord and remembering his pastimes. But as soon as Uddhav comes in contact with the gopis, he is seeing a completely different manifestation of the Vrajvasis, Vraj gopis, the separation form of the Vrajvasis. And then later on, after he leaves, then again, Yogamaya actually uncovers and he sees the blissful form of the Vrajvasis, like that. So these are the dynamics of Krishna Lila. And it's very interesting the way acharyas they have explained. We can only know the truth by seeing through the eyes of our acharyas. There is no other way. So we are extremely grateful to Srila Prabhupada, to the acharyas, that somehow they have revealed Ram Tattva, they have revealed Krishna Tattva, the lilas of Krishna. So with this, I end the class. And if there are any questions or comments from devotees, they can. How is? Yeah, so there is a pastime where the gopis, they all go to Dwarka, right? And then they take bath in a kund, and that kund becomes Gopi Chandan. Because of their dust, that entire kund is actually transformed into Gopi Chandan. So now see, again, one thing we have to remember, that I forgot to mention this point. Vrindavan Paratajam Padam Ekam Na Gacchati. Krishna never leaves out of Vrindavan, one step out of Vrindavan. Do you think the Vrajvasis also live out of Vrindavan? What do you think? We see, there is a pastime where actually Arjuna is carrying all the Dwarkavasis to Hastinapur during the time of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, right? And there are also pastimes which talk about, like for example, the Vrajvasis met Krishna in Kurukshetra. The entire, Yadavas, they met the Vrajvasis in Kurukshetra. So there's description of Nand Maharaj, Yasoda Maya, and all the gopis also. Do you think that they can also leave Vrindavan? Okay, now another question is that, do you think the Vrajvasis, they have more attachment to the Dham than Krishna? See, if they had more attachment for Krishna, they could have gone to Krishna, because Mathura is like so close. Vrindavan to Mathura is like, 20 minutes, according to our estimation, right? In geographical location also, you see, it's very nearby. Now, it's very interesting. When the Rasila was happening, now, the Raslila was happening at Vrindavan, and the gopis are living in Barsana, near Barsana, right? So how is it possible in the night time, midnight, Krishna is calling all the gopis and they are reaching so fast? How is it possible? So, again, one concept of Dham is that it is like a lotus flower. So the petals, all these petals, they are actually different forests of Vrindavan or Vraj. And whenever Krishna wants, the Dham will actually expand and it will all contract. So apparently the distance, it may seem longer, but because it gets compressed, that's why the distance becomes shorter. So they can very quickly reach wherever they are. Okay, in fact, there is something very interesting. Now, Choryasi Vraj, we say Choryasi Kos Parikrama. Now, do you know what is the Choryasi Kos? Is that the circumference? Is that the area of Vraj? Or is that the diameter of Vraj? Do you know that? According to the geographical location, what is Choryasi Kos? The circumference. Yeah, so actually, according to our calculation, mathematical calculation, it is circumference. It is not the diameter and it is not the area. But sometimes it can also refer to all of them. Why? Because Vraj expands and it contracts. So if you consider Choryasi Kos as diameter, you will get a particular circumference. If you consider Choryasi Kos as a circumference, you will get a particular circumference. So you'll get 3 different radiuses, right? So circumference is basically 2 pi r. Then diameter is 2r, right? And pi r square is the area of. So pi r square equal to 84, 2r is equal to 84, and 2 pi r is equal to 84. You'll get 3 corresponding radiuses. So you'll see that there is a minimum radius and there is a maximum radius. So the Vraj also can actually expand and it can contract. That's how you can have multiple radiuses also. Dham Tattva. So yeah, so coming back to the question, Vrindavan also, you'll see that Krishna never leaves out of Vrindavan. Similarly, the Vrajvasis never leave out of Vrindavan. And it seems that they are more attached to Vraj than Krishna. But there is a reason. So we know from the pastime of Damodar Leela that Yasoda Maiya was actually more concerned about the milk which was boiling. She apparently left Krishna, right? And she ran after the boiling milk. So then the Acharya explained that because the boiling milk is for Krishna, that's why anything connected to Krishna is more important than Krishna. So Vrindavan for the Vrajvasis is more important than Krishna. Why? Because in Vrindavan, they experience the highest ecstasy, which is not possible in Aishwarya Dham, because Vrindavan is full of Madhurya Dham. So they always prefer to stay in Vrindavan. And it is not possible, the Vrajvasis can actually mix with the devotees in Mathura and Dwarka, because their bhav is completely different. They are worshipping the Lord as the Supreme Lord. And here they are worshipping the Lord as a Gopal, coward boy. So again, those who went to Kurukshetra, these are all expansions of the original Vrajvasis. They were not the original Vrajvasis. Balram also, he does not live Vrindavan. Outside that, similar appearance of Balram, also same thing. Actually, it was Shesh, a portion of Lord Balram who appeared in the womb of Devaki. It was not Balram. Balram had taken birth in the womb of Rohini Devi in Vraj. So what happened when Shesh was transformed from the womb of Devaki to the Runda? That portion got merged in Balram. So Balram also eternally never lives in Vrindavan. So the same applies to all the Vrajvasis also. They go, their expansions go, but they are always staying in Vrindavan. Okay. So these gopis, they manifest themselves in the form of Mahishis in Dwarka. Right? So we know that Satyabhama is incarnation of Radha, Shri Radha. And then Chandravali is incarnation of Rukmini. Rukmini is incarnation of Chandravali. So all the Asht gopis, Lalita, Vishaka, they are Asht Mahishis in Dwarka. They are the expansions. So all of them expand. No one will leave Vrindavan ever, because Krishna is eternally present there. So in a prakat form, they are always extending the pastime with Krishna, like that. So anyways, this is something about Gopi Chandan, how, they are expansions of the original forms of the Lord. In fact, it's very interesting to know that in Vrindavan also, in Vrindavan, there is a section which is called as Golok, Aishwarya Golok, where you actually worship Radha and Krishna in Aishwarya Bhav. It's kind of similar to that of Vaikuntha Bhav, Aishwarya Bhav, but definitely much more intimate than Vaikuntha Bhav. There is a section in Goloka. So these are all details. Yeah. So any other questions or comment? Yeah. Okay. So see, particular book means actually there is no particular book. There is no particular one book. You'll have to combine multiple books, and but there are commentaries by acharyas. So if you go through those commentaries, then you'll understand something. And then there are some our exalted Vaishnavas. They have written some books on explaining all these tattvas. So they have compiled everything at one place. But otherwise, you'll have to go through different scriptures, and you have to see, even if you read on your own, you'll not be able to understand so many things. You'll have to take guidance of some senior devotees. So Jnanina Tattva Darshina, that's how Tattva is revealed to us. We have to take shelter of someone who has realized knowledge. right? So obviously, Prabhupada has given everything. Prabhupada also talks about all these different aspects that I've covered in the class, but it is just a matter of concentration and realizing that there are certain words in Prabhupada books which we are not able to identify. Like for example, when Krishna left the gopis, okay, so Prabhupada says that their color transform into black. Now other acharyas, they are not transforming, they are not translating they're saying that the colors change into pale color or yellow color like that, but Prabhupada says black color. Now black is actually the color of death. So Prabhupada in particular probably indirectly is referring to Srimati Radharani. You will not realize that. These are small words which are used by Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada in his letters, in his purports, many places in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he explains all these details. But it's just that they are different places. We'll not be able to identify. Plus, we don't have memory also, right? In Kali Yuga, that's the reason we have scriptures. I mean, there were no scriptures earlier because just by hearing Shravanam, everyone was a Shrutidhar. So they could just remember everything. But in Kali Yuga, it was necessary to write scriptures. So that's why we have so many books. And the thing is that we have to, the path that is given by our Acharya, by Srila Prabhupada, we have to follow that. Then, see, it's a combination of two things. It's your own efforts, and it also depends on the revelation of the Supreme Lord. You cannot purchase the Lord just because you are reading so many books, just because you are reading, getting knowledge from information from so many scriptures. Does not mean that you are a pure devotee. When you serve the Lord reveals himself to you. So service is actually done to our Guru and Vaishnavas. And through that service process, there is revelation in the heart. That revelation, sometimes, you may also have experienced this. When you are serving, you may have some questions which you are unable to, you are not able to get answers. But just sometimes when you are serving, immediately the answer appears from your heart. You'll get answers from within. So that is Paramatma which is inspiring us. Okay, and then sometimes what happens? You have certain questions and you get answers from within. You may get that intuition. And then you see that the same thing is also there in the scriptures. Our acharyas are mentioning the same reasoning. So it is confirmed. So that is called revelation. It's a simultaneous process, your own efforts as well as revelation. And that revelation can only come when we perform the acts of devotional service, when we serve. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. Because the main limbs of bhakti, they are 9, Navvida bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Sparanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. So we have to distinguish between sadhana and seva. And sadhana, a part of sadhana is basically chanting the holy names, right? But and seva is basically any form of seva. Like, it can be deity worship, it can be prasad distribution, it can be book distribution, it can be serving the devotees. Any form of seva that is given to us by our authorities, that is seva. Now, sometimes, there is I think some devotees, they think that, okay, we'll chant extra rounds and that may be a seva for us. But according to Srila Prabhupada's standard, the way he has presented our, Krishna consciousness, that 16 rounds is like, sufficient for us. If we try to chant attentively, that is sufficient sadhana for us. And what Prabhupada expected from us is in general preaching. So that is seva for us. So whatever is connected to that, so temple construction, management, because these are all different aspects of preaching, different aspects of service. So these are forms of service. But if Prabhupada says, or if Guru says that, no, your service now is you chant more, then that can also become your service. So like, we have example of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji. For them, they are Bhajananandis, but their main service is to glorify the Lord through that chanting. And their bhajan is in such a high level that they are able to see the Naam reveals Rupa, Guna and Lila, right? For us, it is a great struggle to go beyond Naam itself. What to speak of Rupa, Guna and Lila. So our chanting is not that effective. It is not that pure. That's why we require some form of service. Srila Prabhupada also said that 99% of your advancement depends on chanting the holy name. It does not mean that you decide that, okay, from today onwards, I will chant 32 rounds And that's how just by increasing the quantity, I will be able to become, I will able to advance 99%. It is not possible. We have to please Guru. See, Guru and Krishna is a simultaneous process. Yasadeva parabhakti yatadeva tatho Guru. Tasyate kathiyatartha prakashante mahatmana. Unless and until you have implicit faith in Guru and Krishna, the purport of Vedas will not be revealed to you. So this slok Prabhupada quotes many times in his books, in his letters also, that it is very important to have equal faith in Guru and Krishna. If you say that I have faith in Guru only, no faith or no advancement, no attachment towards Krishna, then you are worshipping idol. You have made your Guru an idol. You have made your Guru God, basically. That's Mayavad also to some extent. And if you say that I will only worship Krishna and not worship Guru, then what you are doing? You are minimizing the position of Guru. You are minimizing the position of the devotees. Because Krishna says that I cannot be approached directly. I can only be approached to my devotees. And Krishna loves it more. He will reciprocate more. See, what is the goal of Gaudiya Vaishnavas? It is to become the maid servant of Srimati Radharani. Right? So they want only the happiness of Radha and Krishna. They want the union of Radha and Krishna. They don't desire their own union. The Manjaris, the maid servants of Krishna, Radharani. Right? So our main principle is that serve devotees, become the servant of server. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalor Das 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 Anudas. That's how we actually attain Krishna's mercy very intimately. And highest destination also, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. So equal. See, Guru has to give you Krishna. He cannot give himself to you, right? He has to give Krishna. He has to make you more attached to Krishna. If you are getting attached towards Guru, but you are not getting attached towards Krishna, there is something lacking. Maybe there is some lacking in your sadhana or your attitude or seva. That's why you're not getting attached towards Krishna. Because ultimately, the Guru's role is to connect you to Krishna, connect you to Paramatma. Actually, in one place, Srila Prabhupada says that if a devotee is at the state of bhav or constantly, glorifying the Lord 24 hours a day, then he does not even require a Guru. Because he is guided from within by Paramatma. So Guru's role is to connect you to Paramatma. He has to purify you in such a way that one day you will be able to connect with the Paramatma and you will get guidance from within. See, that's why our process is that of Vani. It is not of Vapu that much. So Vani is most important. If you follow instructions of Guru, you will get connected to Paramatma gradually. In one purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada writes this explicitly, that any sincere sadhaka can actually get guidance from within. It is not that someone only at the state of bhav. Obviously, at the state of bhav, all guidance is from the Paramatma. But at lower stages, depending on your sincerity and surrender to Guru, you will also get revelation from Paramatma. Whenever you are separated from the Guru, whenever you don't have access to the Guru, like that. So it's a huge topic. Guru Tattva is actually, I have also given a seminar on that. I think 2-part seminar on Guru Tattva. So these are all like tattvas, very important to understand. Okay. All right. Gantrar Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Go Premanandi.
Hare Krishna. Just 1 minute, please hold on. Hare Krishna. I think
let us
somebody
thank His Grace Prema Rāsa Dāsa for giving nice class on Tattva Darshana. Many unknown facts about Vrindavan by chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. And Prabhuji is also author. He written a book named 20 plus must know facts about Hinduism. They recently released in April. So those who are interested, please take. Prabhuji has one limited copy as of now. Those who want now, you can give your names online or directly live here. And those who want to purchase, it's very known, very nicely written book. Many questions which are very confusing, they're answered like, is a God is male or female? God is personal or impersonal? And if God is one, why is there so many religions? Many questions are answered in this book. Especially is very, very nice book for the materialistic people to understand about those who think that they are Hindus. Very nice book, and also many people, many devotees, and also many great people have written the reviews about this book. So those who want, they can give the names, and also others, those who want online, they can purchase from online. Amazon, it is available. This one just only 200 rupees, and also tulsibooks.com is available. So very nice book. Devotees can take the benefit of this. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Jagannath Baldev Subramanya ki jai. Jai. Somebody okay. We'll wait for Srila Prabhupada darshan. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you all for joining this Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll end the meeting now. Hare Krishna. Dandat pranam to all. Vancha kalpatarabhyasya kripa sindhubhyevacha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo ananta koti vaishnavvrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.